Hello everyone, this is April, the artist behind InvokeArtSense. Today I bring you another exciting video, this time with the first video for Mermay 2019. So I decided to start in my new Moleskin sketchbook because during my last video I used the CRESCENT RENDR sketchbook and I just felt like there was too much feathering or blending, or however you want to call it. It was just too much feathering when I used the Ohuhu markers. Maybe there's just too much saturation with the Ohuhus in particular. So I tried my Moleskin, and so far when I did this this prompt list here, it worked out well, much better I think than the CRESCENT RENDR sketchbook. I don't mind that it shadows ghosts to the other side, bleeds through on this side. Actually, this is not bad at all, and it doesn't really worry me. So I'm going to be using this sketchbook. I may still use a CRESCENT RENDR, but I'm going to be doing this first prompt. It is I am late. I work all the time, and I don't feel good on a consistent basis, so I could only do the sketch on May 1st, and that's all I did. So I will be doing the coloring of this prompt. I made my own prompt list. So the first one is unicorn, the second one is witch, wizard, and third demon, demoness, and then fourth leviathan. So I will be doing these four in this video today. Okay, these four prompts in this video. So the first one will be this lovely mermaid here, and I'll color her with markers. Okay, so let's get started with this drawing then. So I want her to have kind of a dark feeling, like it's at night. So her hair will be dark, pretty dark, but I'll start with just a blue-gray 5 first. So I switched to Moleskin, a Moleskin sketchbook, and the Moleskin sketchbook is actually better than the CRESCENT RENDR sketchbook. There was next to no feathering, and no bleeding past the lines, unlike the CRESCENT RENDR. So the idea behind the no bleed, no show through paper is a cool idea, but the concept only is great. The actual outcome of the piece doesn't look as good because the paper doesn't absorb as well. So with this paper, it absorbs really good. And I used Ohuhus mostly, but I did use some of my copics, as you will see later, and some of my Shinhan touch brush markers. So, well, even with just the chisel nib, I had no problems blending. Everything looked great, and the only reason why I used the copics, maybe I used the copics, I think, yeah, on this piece here, I possibly use some copics just to help with the bleeding, help with the blending, because I had a brush. Copics have brush nib. So, and I wanted this scene to be a night scene, but I only did a circle behind her, as you will see later. But some natural colors on the bottom, showing some light, but it's a little dark. So, and it looks like I only use my Ohuhus here. And so the rock that she's sitting on, I use natural colors. I think the brown I used was it's 94. I don't really know. They don't have names for Ohuhu markers, which I wish they had names, but they don't have names, and I don't know the similar one that Copic would have for a name. So I drew a circle using my tape, and I wanted a moon shape behind her. And in her hair there's a unicorn, a silhouette of a unicorn that looks like a cloud. Her hair kind of looks like a cloud shape, so it's like a cloud and it has a unicorn. So it's kind of dreamy but fun, very fun, and I had fun doing this. And this piece I did for Casey Golden 2 for her 500 prompts book. So this one, the prompt for this week was bones, or not bones but skulls. The prompt for this week are bones. So I decided to do animal bones. So this is my day 2 prompt for Mermay, and I'm a little bit behind because I had a hard week this past week, and health and other problems at work or health problems just kind of make me not be able to stay consistent. But I'm doing them now, maybe a day or two behind, but that's okay, I can catch up. So this is the prompt day. First one I did was day 1. Second day is for a day 2. Day 2 and witch. This is a witch prompt, and I wanted her not to just have a simple witch hat. You know, everyone just draws a witch hat, and I think a witch is someone you don't even know that's there. So she's got these horns, maybe elk horns, and she's holding like elk, deer or elk skull in her hands, and she has a little familiar, which is not a cat, which is a little shark, a mini shark that has a skull cover over his head. And her colors were and by the way, the first picture I did the lining at work because I was a little bit behind, so in my free time a little bit I just did the lining of the first people at work. But lining off camera is so much easier than lining on camera because I tend to only want to keep the sketchbook straight and not turn it. But as you see later, I did turn it a little bit because also I have to look really closely, and I don't know, lining is actually the most stressful part of a piece. It's not the fun part, you know. So the actual coloring process is the best part for me. And so I wanted her to have like this kind of a forest witch, or like this swamp witch feel to her. And I put a little skull pattern on her tail. Instead of just keeping it just a simple mermaid tail, she should have a pattern. And Moleskin Sketchbook, I'm really happy with the size. The paper itself is 165 gram paper, and it's just a perfect size for these challenges. Now I'm doing every piece singly, you know, I don't do any concept sketches beforehand, but I should. But I just tend to like, oh, I like this one, I don't need a sketch anymore. This one works fine for my piece. But maybe later when I have more time I should do some concept sketches before my final pieces. But this is a sketchbook, and it's really meant, this is my concept sketch. So I used a lot of jade green. Oh, here I'm using my copic markers. So yeah, so no, it's not jade green, it's pale green. So, and then I'm using some Ohuhus as well, some cool grays I believe, and a gold tone 104 Ohuhu, and sap green shinhan touch markers. So I think that the only marker that I had a problem with, shinhan touch brush markers have a nib, but their nib is not as precise as ciao's, not as firm. So I had a little bit of feathering on the bottom of the tail, which I just lined it some more after I was finished, and there was no problem. So, but definitely for Ohuhus and copics, this sketchbook has been like my best friend. And I do want to revisit the Crescent Render again and give it another try. And by the way, that piece of plastic that comes with the Ohuhu marker set, don't use it. I used it a few times, and the marker just absorbs. It doesn't absorb, which is the problem. So it just goes onto that piece of plastic and it just sits there. So when you do your next marker drawing, then it'll get on the back of the page, which happened on my last drawing. So just use another paper so that your marker can just absorb right into that paper, and actually would probably further prevent any kind of bleeding or feathering. And the little shark, he's like supposed to be, I guess, a great white shark that I just mini sized, and I just wanted a simple background, so I just did a circle effect thing again, just with some blue grays with my Shinhan touch brush markers. And really, if I had to say like a versus video, well, I'm not doing that, but really the copics versus Shinhan, not copics, but the Ohuhus and versus Shinhan, Ohuhus would probably win because they don't feather like the Shinhans do. Maybe it's because of the nibs are not firm. But having a brush nib is nice, and you can actually have more blending. It's easier to blend with that, but it's not impossible to blend with just a regular chisel nib. And I probably, since the Crescent Render sketchbook didn't absorb as much or as quickly, it was harder to blend on that sketchbook. So that was another minus. So having it absorb more, it may, you may use more ink, but your markers will blend better. So this is my last one. I was going to do 4, but it takes a lot of time, and I can only do 3. My goal was 4, but it changed to 3. So this is my third one, day 3, Demoness, or demon. I don't know if there's actually a demoness. She's a woman that's a demon. So this one, the last 2 were kind of dark, so I wanted this one to be light and a little bit more, I don't know, more complex, a little bit more like with the clothes that I added, a little bit more ornate. And the only thing that is a minus maybe for Moleskin that I can think of, the sketchbook is quite small, only like 5 inches, I think. 5 inches? What is it? 5? It's 165 gram paper, 5 by 8 and a quarter inch. So 8 and 1/4 inch. So the size is quite small. So having the tail extend down isn't really an option. And Instagram is a square format, so I'm trying to keep things, where they don't get cut off. And the Crescent Render, the size was much better, but then again, it's more time consuming to do drawings bigger. So I think one drawing took a few hours. Maybe, or maybe even only an hour, maybe an hour and a half for one drawing, but if it was a bigger size, it would probably take me much more time. So, and then I decided to use, after I lined it, I decided to make her skin. Yeah, I use Shinhan touch brush markers here for skin tone, because I don't have the light pink colors, because Ohuhus tend to be very saturated, as far as they don't have like light tones, or maybe it's because I don't have them. I have the 60 set, so I do have pinks, but they're just darker. And so I wanted her to have that unnatural skin tone because she's supposed to be a demon, right? And then I used the red for a skirt. I didn't want to make her tail red. I was going to. I'm like, oh, don't need to make it red. I still want to keep her light and bright. So I made only her clothes red with some white. And then I made her tail yellow. I'm not sure if that was a bad decision. I don't normally, do light colors this way. It's really just yellow. And the blue I added here, of course it turned green when I blended it, on the edges between the blue and yellow. But it's not that bad. The green I like green as well. So here I also use that yellow like highlights, and then the pink 17 for Ohuhu markers. And then later I went with the, I believe it was 8 and 9. Use 8 and 9 for Ohuhus. And then her horns were mixed with 104, that gold tone, and as well as warm grays. As well as her, she's not a Grim Reaper, but that's kind of like a scythe? I forgot what that was called. Is that a scythe? Whatever, the blade thing. So that blade thing is gold and warm gray. And then that she just has a pattern on the side. It's not supposed to be a tree. I guess, can demons be nature-ish demons? Anyways, thank you for watching this video, and see you next time for the next exciting video. I will upload again next Wednesday for more mermaid challenges. So see you then. Goodbye, everyone.